Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast, a good morning to those in the Central Time Zone and then the West Coast, the Pacific Time Zone. Those following from Europe and in Israel, we want to wish you a good evening. Before we start today's briefing, I just want to share with you, it's just come out in the United States, this book, One Day in October, which was written by Yair Agmon and Oriya Mavorach. It says 40 heroes, 40 stories. Produced by Toby Press, something you can go on to Amazon, etc. You can Google it. This was a bestseller in Israel, and it's just been translated into English. And what's unique about October 7th is around the corner, the English anniversary of the blackest day in Jewish history since the Holocaust. It takes 40 unique stories of individuals, of families, from various different communities. Some were in the military, some were civilian. And it tells the story in their words, not in the author's words, but in their words. It's very powerful, very meaningful, and it conveys really the humanity of each and every one of these situations, something for those who want to commemorate October 7th to read. We at FIDF.org, our website, FIDF.org, as well as on many social media platforms, on October 7th are going to be playing for 12 hours material, interviews of survivors, interviews of various people in the military, interviews of those who were there on October 7th, interviews of the families. And they're small but extremely powerful clips. You can jump in at any time, you can jump out at any time, but it will commemorate the day, it will make the day a very, very meaningful day. Whenever you have time, in the evening, in the afternoon, the morning, it's something that we've spent hours and hours working on, trying to convey in a way that enables people to relive that experience through the eyes of many, through the eyes of families of survivors, of soldiers, through the eyes of commanders, through the eyes of onlookers. And we hope that for each and every one of us, it's a day that the Jewish people, that the world will never forget. Now to turn to the situation at hand. We want to thank Major General Nadav Padan, literally who's just gotten off a red-eye plane, to give us an emergency briefing. What we have seen over the last 2 weeks, and in particular what we've seen over the last 2 days, has been just something. Dramatic is not the word, exceptional is not the word, miraculous is not the word. But this change of the situation on the northern front, the change of the situation in Lebanon, as a consequence of these, literally, these are events that people will talk about for the next 1,000 years, what's happened over the last 2 weeks. And we want to turn to Major General Padan for him to give us his insight, his perspective, and also a context looking forward as to what the consequences are of what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Major General Padan.
So I want to divide my brief to two kind of perspectives. One is operational perspective about what's going on with the boots on the ground or on the jets, and strategic perspective, so we could, see from bird eye view where things are go and what's going to be the next, are going to look the next few months or even the year to come. After we lost confidence or belief in the one of the best army on earth, things are getting changed during the last few days after what we saw in Lebanon. And the truth is that it's the same IDF, same Air Force, same Army, same intelligence community, same Mossad and Shabak and other, they're doing amazing job in Gaza and in Lebanon. People are celebrating the big names, the elimination of Nasrallah, that nobody believe, I would like to believe, are crying for him here, the U.S. or in Israel and in a lot of other countries, include Arab countries in the Middle East. It's not only Nasrallah. We have to understand that what the IDF did the last 2 weeks is well-organized plan that deal with layer after layer or layer parallel to layer of the Hezbollah organization. One layer, it's the leadership. It's not Nasrallah. The all lay leadership of Hezbollah are not with us anymore. It's the chief of staff, it's the geographic commander, it's the developer, it's the group that lead the organization. Over 27 lay leaders are not with us anymore. It's like one day take the shelter off in DC, tell the two houses to go home, and turn the light at the White House, the other side of the Smithsonian, and nobody have out there to make decisions. In that case, it's not only this side of the Potomac. We took the shelter off on both sides of the Potomac. So it's the military leadership, it's the organization leadership, and that's a huge issue. And it puts question mark on the near future and on the future of the organization and its power in Lebanon and in the Middle East as a whole. Not only in Lebanon, but it's mark or point or color the ability of the Iranian to support its proxies. I don't know if you hear between the lines. Everybody grieved the death of Nasrallah in Iran, but they do nothing. When they speaks about the direct response from Iran to Israel, it's because of the general that lost his life with them. Each proxies of the Iranian, the Middle East, the militia in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, have a kind of mentor, a general from Iran, from the forces of evil of Iran that lead him and make sure that he's coordinated and make the right decisions. The idea of the Iranian is to lead the whole system to kind of attrition war, long war, under the threshold of full-scale war, make sure that it's not come and not disturb the regular life in Tehran and in Iran, and let those proxies die for us and do the work for us. That's the idea. And the same kind of question that's been asked about the involvement of the U.S. after the Iranian attack toward Saudi Arabia are being asked today about the Iranian and their support at the Middle East. People look at what happened in Lebanon, what happened after the attack in Yemen, after the Israeli strike on the port in Yemen, and ask themselves, okay, what are the Iranians are doing for us? But sending equipment. If Israel gonna attack us, how we're gonna back up our life and make sure that we survive? Same kind of question. And those questions are significantly important for the future of the Middle East. Parallel to those layers of eliminate the leadership in Hezbollah, Israel start destroying the asset of Hezbollah layer by layer, as I mentioned. The anti-boat missiles that cached between the Dakhla and the airport in Beirut, middle range missile, accurate system, drones. The amount of asset that's been lost to Hezbollah is huge quantities, huge number that influence the ability to respond to the attack. So it's not only the leadership and the lack of command right now in the chaotic situation that the organization face. There is lack of equipment. They're looking for their arsenal of missile, driving to a place that they're supposed to bring missile from, and there is nothing there. So that's the situation in Lebanon. They're under a lot of pressure. I'm opening a window about this pressure. All the discussion that led by the U.S., by Macron in France, by Britain and others, to agree to have a 3-week temporary ceasefire, and then during the ceasefire discuss the next step is huge strategic mistake. Israel should not accept those kind of suggestions. When you have the momentum, I mean, Israel will be more than happy to accept agreement that push Hezbollah north to the border and make sure that we have the condition to bring back our citizens to the north. But we should not do this discussion under ceasefire when Hezbollah can recover from the pressure. We spoke about it many times. It's right to count missiles and count terrorists that have been killed, but more important than that, it's the momentum. The Hezbollah, under a lot of pressure, is losing his ability day by day. By the way, during the speech, I'm just reading right now during the brief that Israel launched another aircraft strike at the Dahya in Beirut. Maybe during this brief we'll have the name or the target. So the pressure is going on, and under this pressure, we can achieve betterly what we're trying to achieve when it comes to this component of the system. The key to the whole system still at the south with Hamas in Gaza. Nobody speaks about it right now because the news are occupied by what's running in the north in Lebanon. But doing that, the Air Force, 3 Division, keep fighting and keep digging into the Hamas chain of command and military of terror. So far, the situation is that the pressure, we spoke about momentum, the pressure that break the structure of Hamas as a military of terror are stronger than the ability of Hamas to recover. There is a lot of effort inside Hamas to recover. By the way, most of the asset of Hamas during the war comes from the support that they get from the UN, from the NGOs and other countries that deliver supply, drugs, food and water to Gaza. Instead of going directly to the citizens of Gaza, the Hamas took it over and sell it. As simple as that, literally, to the people of Gaza. And with the money, is trying to recruit new terrorists, rebuild the battalion that's been destroyed the last year. So there is another effort that's probably going to continue with us the next few months at the south. And again, I have to mention it again and again and again. The key to solve the whole kind of system that we're facing the last year, initiated by Hamas in Gaza Strip, and could be turned off with the same component of the system. Word about the other component, about the Houthis and about the Shia militia in Iraq and Syria. During the last few days, and especially the last 2 weeks since the attack that's been launched on the communication system, the beeper and the walkie-talkies, we see on a daily basis attack that comes from Iraq, Syria, and Houthis in Yemen. It includes missiles, and it's cruise missiles, and it include drones. Some of the drones hit the city of Eilat at the very south part of Israel, other along the eastern border. Nothing significant, but they do whatever they can. So when they speak highly about the response, about the destroyers of Israel, they do whatever they can. Those are the tools that they have. And the militia in Iraq cannot maneuver into Israel. They can launch drone, they can launch cruise missile, not with huge number like the Iranian, but we are dealing with it from the very first day of this war, and we dealt with it more specifically the last 2 weeks. So we should put a quart of salt on all those declarations that those radical Shia militia will destroy Israel. You cannot do it. The main force at the region still is the Hezbollah. They still have thousands of rocket and missiles, and it could do damages in Israel. What we are facing the last 2 weeks from Hezbollah is mostly middle-range missile that hit the north part of Israel. So we had attack to the Lake of Galilee, the Kinneret today, and Tveria, Tzfat, Nahariya, the all cities along the northern border of Israel. The limits are not, decision to that this is the right action or right tool to keep things under the threshold of war. That's what they can do. So when we count before the war all the arsenals of missiles of Hezbollah, we have to understand that they cannot operate part of it, and part of it is not active anymore because the Israeli forces damage it or destroy it. We are still waiting for the Iranian to respond to the attack of the general with Nasrallah. We know that the U.S. sent another group of forces, another flag, to the Middle East. It put a lot of pressure. There is a lot of discussion pressure behind the scene that tried to push the Iranian from responding and take the whole region to full-scale war. It's not only coming from the U.S., it's come from European country and others as well. And there is ongoing other wars that happen to coordinate or synchronize with the holistic pressure on this access, like the attack of JSOC today on the border between Syria and Iraq that killed 37 ISIS members. So JSOC, the Joint Operation Command of the U.S., parallel to what CENTCOM doing at the Middle East, keeping the fight against terror. They have running ongoing operation, and this operation, in a way, synchronized with the oil pressure at the Middle East. So I can say that if we felt the last few months that the Eastern axis is the one that lead and rule the tempo of this friction, it changed the last 2 weeks, and the feeling is that the momentum and the leadership moved from the east side to the west side the last 3 weeks. That's significantly important. Yeah, Steve, you wanted to ask a question.
A number of questions, if we could ask Major General Padan. The first question is, and this may be something which is confidential, which can't be shared, but the percentage of their launchers, the missile launchers that Hezbollah is using against Israel, do we have a sense of what has been eliminated, what has been destroyed?
So I cannot share the number, the assumption of the IDF, but the best thing or the best way to judge it is to look over the amount of rocket that been launched over Israel, and the kind of rocket that been launched over Israel, and the amount of drones that been launched over Israel. I mean, before the war, we could speak about thousands and dozens of thousands of rocket and missile. We don't see it. I mean, last night there were less than 100 rocket and component rocket missiles, drones that been launched over Israel. You were expected that after the eliminating of Nasrallah, the supreme leader, they'll get all out. They're trying. So in a way, it's answer your question without getting into things that I cannot discuss.
So the fact that this is what they're sending at Israel right now is a reflection just of how significant the launchers have been damaged.
Yes, it's not only the launcher, the ability to manage this system. Sometimes it's a lack of managers and commanders to give you the order. So there is places in Lebanon that no one control right now. They're in kind of embarrassment. They're waiting for someone to give them order what to do. So it's part of it. It's technical damages, and part of it. It's the lack of leadership.
The next question we have for you, and please, if these facts are wrong, please correct them. The majority of Lebanese are Sunni Muslims. There's a minority of Maronite Christians. And then there's a significant minority of Shia Muslims. The Maronite Christians and the Sunnis have literally been under the chokehold of Hezbollah over the course of the last 25, 30 years. Do you see a military, a physical response of the Sunni and of the Christians against the Shia for what they've done to them, how they've oppressed them, and how they've choked them over the last 25, 30 years, as a consequence of the fact that the way you described it, not only the military leadership, but the political leadership has been eliminated. And this might be an opportunity for the Sunni and the Christians to essentially jump in and prevent Hezbollah from controlling the country de facto.
Yeah, I mean, Lebanon is more a place than a country from that perspective. It's a patchwork of minorities. It's not only the Christian, the Sunni, and the Shia. It's also Druze and Cherk and others. And this patchwork are not really tied or connect to each other in the way that we expected or we observe from our Western eyes. Most of the community doesn't have the force to deal with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, even after the attack, still the strongest force in Lebanon, but there is no love to the Shia at all and to Hezbollah specifically. And if I have to give color, to put color in it, to bring flavor to this kind of describe, if after the Pipar attack, the Mormon hospital accepted the Hezbollah wounded terrorists and take care of them, Hezbollah since then didn't send their injuries to the Christian and the Druze part of Lebanon. We saw here and there Druze attacking a Shia group that ran away. I mean, refugees that ran away from the Dahya, the neighborhood in Beirut, or from the south part of Lebanon, or from the back, from the valley and the East Valley between Lebanon and Syria. So we could see here and there event that echelons of car of refugees tried to cross a Christian village, a Druze village, and they're under attack. But there is no attack that even close to what we saw during the civil war in Lebanon, or something that actually put in question the strength or the agony of Hezbollah in Lebanon so far. So far it seems that even after the attack, Hezbollah still have a lot of terrorists spread all over. They have weapons. When you see two pickups with 12, 15 Hezbollah terrorists well equipped, you don't deal with them. Most of the people of Lebanon are regular civilians that try to make a living there. They don't have militia forces. They have weapon cached under the carpet in the living room, but no more than that.
And then the next question is, the Lebanese government is claiming that there right now are 500,000 Lebanese who have fled their homes. We're assuming, obviously, that the large majority of them are Shia. You mentioned the Bekaa Valley. You mentioned the Shia communities in southern Lebanon. Those communities, whether it's south of the Litani River, whether it's in the Bekaa Valley, what does it look like? If we were to go there today, what does the landscape look like?
So, first of all, the quantities and the number are a bit bigger. Well, we're assuming that the number is close to 1 million refugees right now in Lebanon. Some of them, by the way, tried to run away to Syria to be accepted by the Alawin and other groups that cooperate with Hezbollah during the war in Syria. So from the Bekaa, that close to the border, there is echelon of refugees that try to go east towards Syria. You have to remember that Hezbollah built himself under the villages, mostly under the Shia villages for years. Building under the villages meant that they're digging bunkers and basement with ammunition, with rocket, cached under civil houses. Or you can find, we found arsenal of rocket and missiles cached under a elementary school in part of the places. They're using their own people, the Shia, the group that support them as human shield, as simple as that. And those people that know exactly what Hezbollah have under the village, got the message from Israel that the one that have a missile at home better leave because we're gonna attack it, left. Lebanon are not organized to accept this amount of refugees. They're not ready to accept any amount of refugees. The way it works usually in Lebanon is that they go to their families. So Shia family that lives in the south part of Lebanon could be adopted by a family that lives at the Dahya or in the back. But today that Israel attacked the whole spots of Shia in Lebanon, they have nowhere to go. So they try to go to Syria. They try to go they take over schools in Beirut without government leadership. Nobody take care of them, and that put huge pressure on those temporary improvised leadership that running Hezbollah today. Just imagine that you got a command few hours ago, you lost it because the IDF eliminated you. You are the third or the fourth at the chain of command, and now you have to make decisions, strategic decision about hundreds of thousands of people that put pressure on you. We don't have water, we don't have food. What the situation in Lebanon right now is quite chaotic, and we have to be very careful what we're doing, not to lead the whole region to a humanitarian crisis. We want to keep it, in a level that put pressure on Hezbollah and make this war as short as we can. That's the idea, without creating like a humanitarian crisis that will force us and other countries in the world to change the strategy for this war.
Assuming right now that the war is being conducted primarily from the air, primarily by the Israeli Air Force, from your perspective, I'm making a second assumption in this question. The second assumption is that Israel has enough bombs, has enough missiles to take out launchers, to take out weapons depots, etc. Will Israel need at least 3 to 4 weeks to continue this, to reduce at least 3 to 4 weeks to reduce the amount of launchers, the amount of weapons, the amount of terrorists, etc.? What does Israel need to conduct this war?
Israel needs, the goal of the war is to create a situation that will allow our citizens to go back to the villages and to the north part of Israel. To achieve it, we have to push Hezbollah from the border, so there won't be boots on the ground that could, plans and be ready to launch a strike like October 7th from the north. We understand that we won't be able to eliminate Hezbollah. We won't be able to destroy the lost missiles. So Hezbollah will still have missiles that cover most of Israel, even if they be north to the Litani River. So the question about time, the time is not, there is no like a schedule that is a calculation of the amount of missile we can destroy per day, and then after 10,000 missile or 30,000 or 100,000 missile, we'll get to the point that we will achieve the goal. The goal will be achieved under the pressure and momentum, and under the pressure that will force Hezbollah or his supreme leader in Tehran right now to accept the terms of going north to the Litani River and clean the border of Israel from boots on the ground. That will be the time. It could take a week, it could take 5 days, it could be a combination of airstrike and limited ground maneuvers. And without getting too deep into the details, open your eyes to the picture you see at the TV. you could see that in certain places it's already started.
Yeah.
I mean, on the ground there is a effort of destroying the post and the position of Hezbollah along the border. Now everything done from behind, from the Israeli side of the border. Okay, end of that. So Israel doesn't need to maneuver like in the first war in Lebanon to Beirut or to take over 40 kilometers. If you remember this number that Begin used to describe the needs of security in Israel. If we'll do ground maneuver, it will be a limited ground maneuver that significantly or plans to push the past of Hezbollah north to the Litani River, or more or less to the line of the 10 Ks from the borders of Israel.
Then the last question that we have for you is, there's videos out there on social media that Hezbollah has sent out in the past about some of the powerful underground tunnels they have, where they have all kinds of weapons and equipment in their tunnel system. Obviously that's not something that can only be taken out from the air. You need ground forces. How extensive is that tunnel system? How dangerous is that tunnel system? If you could comment on that.
So Lebanon is not, size-wise, not even close to Gaza. And to dig in the rocks of the chalk rock of Lebanon, it's not as easy as to dig at the sand of Gaza. They don't have this metro of hundreds of miles in Lebanon. What they have is local tunnel that connect between Bunker and Lansha mostly at the Shia villages at the south part of Lebanon, which is tactical tunnel. They also have bunkers and storages under the ground. The one that they showed the video was a storage of long-range missile under the ground. It's well digging deep in the mountains of Lebanon. It's not hundreds of miles. If you observe professionally part of the video, you could see that part of it is it's real video. The other is Hollywood stuff. But still, they have it. And we knew it for years. We knew about those bunker at the Shouf Mountains, at the mountains of close to the Pka, close to the airport, close to Rayak. We knew about town that connect between Syria and Lebanon that help smuggling stuff. So they have system. I want, close my eyes to those challenges we have to deal with it. But it's not the same kind of metro system. They don't have like equivalent life under the ground like the Hamas have in Gaza.
You mentioned the Shouf Mountains. Where is that geographically?
So the Shouf Mountain is more or less run from south to north along the state of Lebanon. Lebanon actually start, the east side of Lebanon is the Bekaa. It's the valley between Syria and Lebanon. Start with the Hermon Mountain in Israel, to the north to Baalbek and the cities at the north part of the Bekaa, and then it's the chain of mountain, the Shouf Mountain, at the center of Lebanon. And from those mountains, you're getting down and down to the Mediterranean shore. Those Shouf Mountain, it's what used to be called the small Lebanon. It's the hiding place of the minorities. Over the years, the rich tribe used to take over the agricultural area of the shore, the place that you actually can, walk the land. And the weak tribe ran to the mountains, to the Golan High, to the Shouf Mountain. So the Druze and the Christian that had been hunting by the Muslim at the time took shelter or found those mountains as hiding place. Most of the Shouf Mountains are occupied by Druze, Christian, Mormons, Cherokee, and other minorities. That's what used to be called Small Lebanon. So it's run from the border of Israel, from the high places of the Galilee, along the state of Lebanon to the north, to the area of Beirut and north and there.
And then one final question. The northern parts of Lebanon, who are the primary inhabitants of that? What groups populate northern Lebanon?
So, generally speaking, mostly Sunni, Christian as well. It's dependent on there is places on the shore that run by minorities, but most of the people, the majority of the people that lives in the north part of Lebanon is the Sunni. Shia located in the south, the Bekaa, those areas.
And the coastal cities of Tsur, of Tyre, and the coastal cities of Sidon, of Sidon, those coastal cities are a mix of population?
Mixed population. They also have, by the way, Palestinian refugees. So the refugees camp of Lebanon, located mostly along the shore in Tsur, Sidon, the one that didn't run with Arafat after '82 or to North Africa, stay there in kind of refugee camp. Part of the issues or the challenges that we had over the years with Lebanon came from terror group, from Palestinian terror group in those cities. So those are mixed cities. I mean, the history of the place. I mean, we can go to the Roman and the Greek and occupation. Every power over the years took over those cities because they have amazing ports, and it's connect between Europe and the Middle East and Asia. So it's mixed cities.
Thank you. Thank you for contextualizing this. And needless to say, if somebody had slept the last 2 weeks and woke up this morning, it's a very different world. It's a very different Middle East. And I think it's fair to say that the people of Israel are in a very better, not in a perfect place, but they're in a much better place than they were 2 weeks ago.
Definitely. And we should mention also, Steve, that part of those names that everybody happy, in our tradition, Jews are not dancing on dams on bloods of others. We're not celebrating. We're not running to the street and gives candies and cake and celebrate death of others. But definitely there's group of evil people, when we don't have them with us, our world, our area, it's a better place. And we have to remember that huge list of them, at least 30% of them were wanted by the US as well. They're responsible for the death of many, many American and many Marines Corps in Beirut and other places. So the bloods of many American on the hands of these evil guys, and nobody in the US and nobody in Israel should cry for the loss of them.
We to our participants who have participated throughout the year in these briefings, we want to wish each and every one of you a meaningful year. This is, to put it mildly, this has been a very, very shocking, a very challenging year. But as Major General Padan has mentioned, the last 2 weeks really give not only Israel, but give the world a certain sense of optimism that we can somehow overthrow the chokehold, the ring of fire of Iran and its 8 proxies. And we've really seen incredible, incredible news over the last 2 weeks. We can't express our gratitude to the men and women who have fought this war, in the most ethical, moral of ways, who fought this in the most valiant of ways. We want to wish you, we want to wish them, we want to wish the wounded soldiers a refuah shlema, a complete healing, not only just physically, but also mentally, psychologically, and wish for the world a better year, a year that will at least bring moral clarity, ethical clarity, a year that will enable the men and women of the IDF who stand at the front line of humanity to continue and do what they have done over the course of this past year. In the coming weeks, we'll have some very interesting briefings coming up. One of them is Ari Sasher. It's an American from Binghamton, New York, who was one of the executives at Rafael. He's been very involved for many years with Iron Dome, with David Sling. And we'll go into a deep dive of the missile defense and the challenges of the rockets that come from Lebanon. And as well, we'll have the chance to speak to Doron Perez. Doron Perez's son, Daniel, who was one of the heroes who was killed on October 7th, leading a tank corps on the border. He'll describe what it's like to be a parent during a period of 162 days when they thought their son was alive, and what they were going through with their son being a hostage. And then after that famous knock on the door, the infamous knock on the door, how they've dealt with the fact that their son is no longer alive and what it's like not to have the remains of your son to bury because his body's still being held in Gaza. So those are going to be very, very powerful interviews, very, very powerful briefings. We want to wish everyone a meaningful new year, a cathartic new year, and we thank you for your support. And we can't reiterate that right now the needs that we have, the needs to fulfill, we're looking at $500,000 a day. $500,000 a day is not 5 days a week, it's 7 days a week. Those of you who can support us at fidf.org, we would be incredibly grateful. Those who want to adopt a soldier, we still have 250 scholarships. Those who want to help us with the program with the bereaved families, adopting a retreat, a bereaved family retreat, we would be very, very grateful. Please feel free to email me at steve, steve.weil, steve.weil @fidf.org. Wishing you and your families a meaningful year, and thank you.